Most creators are using AI and ChatGPT completely backwards. They jump in there, ask for a quick script, they get this generic garbage back and wonder why AI isn't working for them. Or they copy paste things that just aren't valid anymore. But there's actually an insane setup process that changes everything, plus a stack of tools that can completely automate your content creation workflow. My guest today is a founder of an AI tech company, and she is a leading educator on this topic. Iman Oubou joined me live at one of our events, and she broke down the exact methodology and process she uses to take her from one idea into 30 days of content across multiple platforms. And so by the end of this video, you'll have both the setup process and the tools that will completely change your content game. Let's dive in. So we're going to focus on the tools for inbound. Would you guys agree? Would that be cool with you guys here? There are tools to go outbound, and there's other things we can get into in a different conversation. But when you think about inbound, we know a bunch of different content strategies. Everybody here is working on building their brand at some level. They want more customers. They want more inbound leads. They don't want to chase people, but one way of doing this is by putting out more videos. And a lot of people here will talk about like, hey, my videos aren't resonating with the audience. Or I used AI to generate a script and it seems kind of just like a canned thing. And so they're like, you know what, I tried it, it didn't work. So what are they doing wrong? Like, how are they not using these tools correctly?
Well, I think we have to take a step back. And first, before we even jump into, I want to create videos, I want to create content, you have to really go through a series of questions. And I think especially now in the age of AI, where the barrier to entry is so low that it's so much noisier out there. So the idea of just creating content to create content no longer works, because you really have to find a niche or an angle where you actually stand out. And the best way to go about that is taking a step back and really asking yourself the hard questions, or maybe using AI to actually flush out why you're creating content, who you're creating that content for, what does your ideal customer profile look like, what are they struggling with, what is their pain point, what are they even talking about online, right? So we have a lot of forums right now with Reddit and TikTok where people are actually asking, your dream client is asking the questions already. You just have to find what those are and then tailor your content to those top trending topics or what the buzz is all about. Because ultimately, you want to create content that delivers value to your dream customer so that they see you as a value-add resource and they trust you more with their money. So before you think about, okay, I need to post X amount of videos on Instagram and this many LinkedIn posts, why am I doing it? Who is it for? How do I convey my message to actually solve their pain points? And then take that as your strategy and use AI to flush it down into a content plan or a much more fleshed out content strategy with scripts and also which channels you should be on. Obviously, we don't want to always be in everywhere because you have a dream client that probably uses one main channel to really engage with, and maybe that's where you should start if you're a novice at this. Of course, if you have done content for a while, you can always scale up. But I always recommend when you're getting started with the idea of I want to build a personal brand and attract clients using content, start with one main channel where that you can really master before you can scale up.
Yeah, I love that. And I think narrow your focus rather than trying to do 5 things and then, like none of them really well. So somebody's like, hey, why aren't you doing LinkedIn? Why aren't you doing this? And I'm like, because I've narrowed my focus to Instagram and Facebook. And only reason Facebook is because it's connected. You can with one post you get both, and
you can always repurpose too. I
yes.
think once you've seen, at least for me, this is what I do. A lot of the content that I turn into reels are actual LinkedIn posts that really engaged already with my audience on LinkedIn, and I turn them into scripts immediately. Because repurposing is a really great way to scale your content without always having to reinvent the wheel. And I always say you don't need more ideas. You don't need more topic ideas, or you don't need more things to talk about. You just need more ways of turning your main message into multiple formats and multiple angles. And now with AI, it's so easy to do that. You're able to find tools that are going to take one core idea, and this is also how we built Vocable, is you take one core idea and then you basically turn it into 30 days worth of content across multiple channels with just one prompt. And so you're able to really scale your message without scaling your efforts.
That's so awesome. So, okay, which model should we be using for this? Like, should we, how many of you guys are using ChatGPT on a daily or weekly basis at least? So majority of the room.
How many are using Claude?
So
Less.
not many at all.
Oh.
Okay, so I prefer Claude.
But yeah.
Okay, like for writing and helping me refine my thoughts. I feel like it's way better with creative writing. Is that just like, is that just anecdotal? Is that just my experience, or would you say Claude's better?
I do, and also we use Claude as one of our main default model on Vocable because it is the best with prose and is just really great. Also very in-depth. I'm sure if you guys are already using ChatGPT, and that's kind of the main model everybody's deferring to, it's very surface level at times. But you can compare and contrast for yourself. Use the same exact prompt, put it on ChatGPT, and then put the same prompt on Claude. You'll see how big of a difference there is in terms of the meat of the content and the in-depth it goes in. So I 100% recommend Claude for anything long form. Even emails, I defer to, email newsletters, not just emails on a day-to-day basis, but email newsletters, long form blogs, guides, any of the lead magnets that you create, I 100% recommend Claude for that because you will get a lot more value with a very simple prompt. And I also think that what people forget to do now, because we just kind of bought into this idea that we all have to become prompt engineers, and that's the best skill you can have now. That's wrong. I think now you can defer to AI to create the prompts you need for anything you want. I don't ever spend my time sitting there figuring out, OK, let me write a novel as a prompt to get the best output. I just give Claude a couple sentences, and Claude is really good at writing prompt as well, better than ChatGPT. And then I ask, what is the most optimized prompt you can give me to get the best output possible for this specific task? And so you take that prompt and then replug it back into your AI tool. So definitely don't waste time trying to figure out how to be a prompt engineer when you can just use AI to prompt engineer for you.
Yeah, you just ask it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think about telling it your goals, giving it more context, but one thing that's really helped me, especially with creative writing, is giving it a bunch of the stuff that you like, or maybe the stuff you've written, so that it can talk in your brand voice.
Yep.
So, and then two other things that you mentioned were making sure it understands who you're speaking to.
Right.
So just practically, let's get into like the basics. Like, I want to be super tactical here with everybody. So you open up Claude. And imagine, because I only saw 12 hands go up for Claude, like most people aren't using it. So
or ChatGPT.
Yeah, whatever. And so you open it up. You can do it in ChatGPT too, and you start a new chat. And I'm like, okay, where do I start? Do I start with finding out my target audience and their problems and pain points? Do I need to know this, or can the model help me find this? And then in that same thread, or do I start a new thing? Would I start working on the writing process? Because I would love for people here to take an idea that they have in their head right now of something they want to teach or a message they want to get to their clients, and they have the ideas, but I want Claude to be able to help them package this better, because that's what's helped me a ton.
Yeah, well, so I think also one thing to remember, even with ChatGPT, since most of you are already using ChatGPT, is that there are different models to pick from. So the 4.0 is the fast model. That's kind of the default model right now, which most people probably are using. But if you really want more strategic thinking and research, then you want to change to other models that they have in there. They're a little bit slower, so there's a little bit more latency because they're thinking deeper. And so when you're doing strategy work and where you kind of flushing down your target audience, who they are, I would use the research model, because that way it actually pulls from the internet and it's able to research exactly what your target audience is struggling with, and be able to really frame who your ICP is based on a lot of that insights from the interweb. So make sure that you're using the right model for whatever task that you're using ChatGPT for. And so, yeah, with what you just talked about, you want to use the same thread, because the idea is that you want to continue giving it context and build with ChatGPT or Claude all the way down to even your content plan if you're using Claude for that. So the first thing I would say, even before you open up any AI model or any AI chatbot, I would hope that you have somewhat documented a lot of what your brand is about, maybe even old customer testimonials if you have. So the first, I think, step that many people do skip when it comes to using AI properly is really spending time to gather the data that you have. Document your customer testimonials, document your messaging, document any even customer voice, right? So how do people talk about your brand? How do your customers now refer to you as a brand, as a thought leader? A lot of that context is really important in order to really get a more personalized, tailored output from AI. So that's step one for me, not opening any AI chatbot. If you haven't done that already, if you don't have a folder, a database where you have gathered all the information about your brand, about your unique approach in comparison to your competitors, who your competitors are even, make sure you do that first, and then use that context as something you add into your chatbot as documents. You can, obviously gather everything into a PDF that you give it as context, and then now you start saying, okay, here's what my business is about, here's the ideal customer profile that I'm trying to target, and here's my unique approach in comparison to these competitors. Can you help me come up with a strategy for my messaging? Start with your messaging. Really hone in on what your messaging is first before you even translate that into communication strategy or content plan.
Yes, I love this. I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to continue to put out the absolute best content that's going to help you move your business and brand forward, but I need your help. So many of you guys are watching this channel, but you're not subscribed, and that's the number one thing that's going to help me grow. So if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. Normally, I'd have a fancy ad read and promote some product, but today, all I want you to do is just subscribe to the channel, and now let's get back to the episode. Real life example, guys, and you let me know if I did this right or wrong, but I was talking with Christo, and we were working on the brand messaging for Forward. Okay, so he was helping me out. He's one of my coaches in business and creativity, and he was like, okay, who's the person? And we went through all this questions and all this. He's asking me all the questions, and he made me pick who is the customer I'm speaking to with this brand. And I'm like, well, it's like a lot of people. Yeah. He's like, no. Who is the person? I'm like, well, it's a man or woman, this age. No. Is it a man or is it a woman? What's his name? What does he do from morning till night? What are the problems he faces? Mm-hmm. What are the things he's struggling with? What are the things he's good? What are the things he values? Like
income.
Yes, income, the whole thing. And he made me document, like, this is my customer. And I'm like, well, Chris, it's more than that. It's this person, it's that person. And he's like, no, it's okay. Like, we can broaden it, but in the beginning, it needs to just be this. And so he made me go through this exercise, which was kind of like anti in my brain. But then what I did was, like, once we had all that, we fed that into an AI model. And so we just talked about it on Zoom. And then we took the transcript from Zoom and dumped the entire transcript into and it kind of like put some stuff together. So not even me trying to organize it properly. I literally just took the Zoom transcript. Because you guys know, if you're on a Zoom call, if there's a button, you turn it on. It gives you an AI summary right now anyways. I think if you have Zoom, like the cheap version of Zoom, it'll do that for you.
And that should be part of what you're documenting all the time. Especially for me too, now I do a lot of customer calls and user interviews. I document all of those transcripts because that feeds back into our brand positioning.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't realize how important that is in order to really define how you position yourself in the market. And then going back to what you mentioned about that one specific person, I think the mistake most people make when they're building a personal brand or even a business, they're trying to go for the masses. Instead of just, if you were to just talk to one person, if you were to sell to one person, what is that dream person profile look like? And then start there. Even when you're creating content, I think people will say, they start videos with, hey guys, or hi everyone, versus creating content as if you're talking to one person, because when people are scrolling, it's just you and them, right? You're talking straight to them. So act like when you are creating content or building a brand, who is that ideal customer? It could be one description starting there, and then again, you can always scale
add
up.
more, yeah. So we ended up putting that into creating a project or creating a thing, and with all the documentation, and then like it understood the person I'm talking to, so then I could give it more information about my brand. I asked it to ask me questions as well, ask me questions that anything you need additional information in order to give me the best messaging possible, and it asked me a bunch of questions, and I just took some time to set this up. It's not like it's no time or no effort, but there is a little bit of effort there required, and I feel like everyone skips that, like you said. But then what happened afterwards really shocked me when I said, okay, I'm preparing an email to let people know about this, or I'm working on a video and I'm not sure what the messaging should be, but here's what I'm trying to convey. The output was 10 times better by just doing this first setup part, and I don't think anybody does that.
Yeah, and it's also now you're thinking of it as in the context of AI, even though sometimes it might take a little bit more effort And I think this is where now the mindset has shifted from, the masses, they expect AI to be the magic bullet and know everything about them all the time and just give them what they need immediately without them investing enough time to really guide it. But that is the step that's probably the most important now. That's why we say the human in the loop. You still are the ones guiding AI. And so you still are the ones responsible for that strategic vision and being able to really give it as much context and information the same way you would when you hire someone new, right? So you don't just bring on someone new and expect them to know everything. You have to onboard them.
I do that sometimes, though. I'm just kidding. No, we've all done that.
Well,
but yeah,
how
it
does
doesn't
that
work.
work out?
It does not work. Yeah.
So you have to onboard them in a way. And so I think when you're using, especially these models too, they learn from you. The more context you give them, the more documents and guidelines you give them, the better over time they get when you're working with them. So 100% making sure that there is some kind of investment in brand training is probably the key to getting a lot more optimized output that you're looking for.
Yes. Okay, so here's the shift I've noticed, and we had a call before, and I think you agreed with me, like talking head videos, when we're trying to educate our audience, are getting more and more difficult to connect, only because the audience, preferences have changed on short form. Like, talking head never dies on YouTube, by the way, long form. If you're good at communicating and you have the ideas and you put it together right, that's just timeless. But on short form, it kind of comes in waves. And how many of you would agree that when you make a talking head video, it's harder to make it reach a lot more people these days? Would you agree? Not
so
the
how
same.
many people enjoy making talking head videos? 1,
I like it.
2, 3. Okay.
Not as many as I would have thought. So
Not me.
You guys are obviously alternatives are just putting B-roll with text over the B-roll and music, and we all know the little things that work. But I think where it would really kind of improve is whenever we do talking head, when I tell a specific story, like storytelling is where it's going, and you've seen so many accounts blow up at storytelling. And then I looked yesterday, just in preparation for today, like when you go on YouTube and you look up storytelling, it is one of the most searched things in content marketing right now. People want to become better storytellers. We all need to become better storytellers. Whenever we talk about things, sometimes we're like, what are the things you hate when someone tells you a story? Too long, they ramble on, it feels like they're not going to land the plane.
There's no personality to it.
Yeah,
it's not
personal.
It's not emotionally resonant. And I think that's really
the big thing,
key. Yeah, the key now with content in general, especially in the age of AI, because again, the barrier to entry is so low that anybody can become an expert at anything and regurgitate it in a talking head format. And that's when you really start seeing this noise versus the actual real domain experts who are able to resonate with you because they actually understand your pain point. And for me, this is something I had to remind myself to play on more in comparison to my competitors who are tech founders. Most of them that are building these AI content creation tools aren't domain experts in the world of content marketing. I come from that world. I've ran content teams. I've built, content startups before, so I know the true pain points of what it's like to build a personal brand through content creation, and I feel my customers' pain points, and I don't think I have played on that enough while I was building the products, and now I'm realizing that the people who are winning now in marketing are the ones who are able to come out of their shell and actually play on their vulnerabilities, play on the emotional resonant side that they can turn into content that actually resonates with their audience. And I mean, you guys probably also feel it too when you're scrolling through content. I have a hard time connecting with people who just feel like they're just remembered or memorize a script or maybe reading off of a script, and there's really nothing that they're documenting behind the scenes that I can feel like I can relate to. But then every time that I found myself following someone new on Instagram, even if they're not even in the right field or the same field as me, is because I was drawn to their story, their ability to articulate that story and document it, and also they don't need to show the perfections of it all. I think prior to maybe this post-AI era, at least I thought that as a founder or as a brand builder or a thought leader, you kind of have to show that you have it all together and you have it all figured out all the time. And there was this kind of a notion of, oh, I want to come across, higher than I already am because that's the only way people can trust me or take me seriously. Now I think we flipped the script. Now if anything, people do want to connect with people who are still in that process. They don't want to learn about someone after they made it. They want to see the process they had to go through to get to where they are today. And that's why we see a lot of creators that are growing exponentially now on Instagram, TikTok, are people who are just bringing you behind the scenes with them and telling you, okay, this is day one of me becoming a millionaire. Come with me. We're going to figure it out together. And you're drawn to that, even though they're not there yet. But you know that one day when they do make it, you were part of that journey. And similarly, I think with brands now, too, they are really playing on this element because you're starting to see a lot of brands that are now investing in creating series on Instagram. For example, I don't know if you're familiar with the brand Built, which is the credit card that allows you to gain points from paying rent or whatnot. And now they've just invested in a whole series about finding roommates and finding rent. And so that's now where brands are putting, that's where they're investing as far as advertising goes. They're trying to tell stories instead of just, hey, this is our brand, this is our service, buy it.
Yeah, it's like less information and more something that would draw you in.
Yeah.
And so the main thing that I think we should focus on, the big takeaway, guys, is like if you're going to teach somebody something, they need you in certain cases, not every post, but like in these types of posts, you want them to feel something. Like many people here, it's that cliche thing, like you won't remember what I said, but you'll remember the way I made you feel. So if they're not feeling anything from your storytelling, then that's why it's not connecting with them. So what you would do is like in this same thread or project, whatever you have going, like tell it the story that you would like to tell and just ramble. Like Cody talked about this morning. She's like, I don't want to type anymore. I just use the voice. Like it's so efficient. Just ramble all that shit in there and then say like, this is the story I'm trying to tell. Help me make this what? Like how would you prompt it right there? Here, I just ramble off this long story that I would never tell a story because you're not going to listen. It's so long-winded. How would we refine it?
First, you also want to teach it your style first. So I think what I do typically, because I just launched a series myself as well, and I wanted to really hone in first because one thing you guys have to remember too with these AI versatile chatbots that are everything for everyone, like a Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, they are trained to remain neutral. So that means a lot of the output, unless you really maneuver it, is always going to sound somewhat generic and kind of surface level, almost AI generated. And it's going to take you a lot longer to really get to that punchy, good script that feels like you as a human speaking if you don't prompt it right from the get-go. And the way you do that is by feeding it even maybe styles of other creators that you think you want to emulate the style, and feed it a couple scripts that you like. This is the style and tone of voice that I want you to follow. And then ask it to analyze that style first, and then give you a description of what that style feels like. And then use that as now context moving forward to create your scripts. Because otherwise it's going to feel really daunting to create these scripts. It's just not going to sound natural, and that's probably way worse than you not putting out content at all. So you definitely want to make sure that it's very much in your style. And after you get the first draft, make sure that you have your human input to it. So a lot of the time I'm spending probably more time doing some editing and tweaking just to make it sound like me, and even giving it my own examples, because ultimately storytelling is based on your story. And so you have to get very clear on what part of my story am I trying to communicate, and then also what parts of my day-to-day or any events or any interesting things happening in your current journey that you can feed it back into AI to be able to turn that into somewhat of a episode or storytelling version.
Yeah, and you can even ask it to help me turn this into something, a recurring series. Like you would get the ideas from there. So I just think of like, the smartest people I know, Iman, are using AI as their thought partner.
Yeah.
Like you're not just going to, hey, give me 10 ideas to post on. Like, no, it's like your friend, that you're going back and forth with, and that you've trained, and that you're actually using. And so I know there's millions of other use cases, but like I just wanted to get into that because I feel like us being able to have better connecting content with the audience is going to be the differentiator going forward, because any piece of content, any of the big creators will tell you this, like they're leaning more into storytelling. Now, you will notice that like the biggest thought leaders can still just give you informational nuggets, but that's because they already have the authority to do so. Like it's dangerous to look at someone who has already built their brand and has written 10 books, and you already give them the,
Yeah.
like, I'll listen to that person when they
Yeah.
talk, you know, but they may not listen to me because it's the first time they're seeing me.
Yeah, and also I think and then using AI to find what your style is, because it could be different. And I just remember recently, I don't know how it came up on my algorithm, but this really funny lady, she's a real estate agent. I don't know if she's big in the industry, but randomly I follow on her Instagram, and she's basically using a lot of dry humor to sell houses, and it's working. I mean, she's going
Is she in
viral.
Florida?
Tampa, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm not in the market, but I was like, you know what? This is actually entertaining and interesting. I want to see a bunch of $1 million houses where she's making fun of them.
Yeah.
And I followed just because of the content. And again, maybe at some point I might be in the market and she would be an interesting person to reach out to. But again, you just want to draw that attention. And sometimes you could, there are tools, for example, like Poppy.ai is a really interesting tool that helps you pull together a mood board of your favorite YouTube videos or Reels or TikToks, whatever other content that you see out there that is inspiring to you. You pull together a few samples, and then you link that to almost a ChatGPT-like interface, and then you use that as inspiration to come up with your own style of script. So that's a really interesting tool as well. We built Vocable.ai to be more multi-channel content, so LinkedIn, blogs, emails, but being able to really root your business forward content on storytelling and hooks that actually pull in your audience in an emotionally resonant way. So there are a lot of purpose-built AI tools when you're ready for them to move from the generic, versatile, general AI chatbots like Claude and ChatGPT into more tools that are actually built for this kind of storytelling and content creation. And those are always good to add to your tool stack because you stack them together and you have a whole now AI-powered system versus using chatbots to prompt one post at a time. That I feel like is not efficient anymore as a use case for me, at least. I'm trying to create content at scale, meaning I'm posting daily, and I'm posting across different 3 channels now. So using chatbots is a lot more out of my time and effort than I'd like at this point. So scaling your content also now requires you to put together an AI system and stack together different AI tools that go from research to planning to scripting to then turning those into supporting assets and then scheduling and publishing. And if you have the system down and you're able to really add AI across the board, then now you have a repeatable, scalable system where you can just do this once a month, and now you have set yourself up for content for the rest of the month.
Awesome. So think about this being actually the tool will help you post as well, like with.
Okay, so we'll go through the tools.
Yes.
Can I go through them? Okay.
Yeah.
So for research for your audience, especially for you guys, you really want to know what's trending in your niche, I would recommend Buzz About. It's a really great audience insights, audience sentiment, trending topics tool. Very easy to use. You put in your niche keywords, and then it scans whatever channels you want it to scan, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, whatever that is. And it pulls a very detailed summary and report of the top trending topics. And you can chat with it as well. So you can actually ask it, what exactly does my audience want to know about XYZ? And that gives you already a good foundation to start as far as what am I planning to post that is actually going to engage with my audience. Then I would plug that usually into Vocable.ai, which turns all of those insights into 30 days worth of content across the channels that you specify. And now you have the scripts and copy for your Instagram posts or LinkedIn posts ready to go. Then I turn those scripts into supporting assets. And for that, I use a couple different tools depending on what the assets are. So for graphics and carousels, I use Canva. It's always the best because of the templates, and I have very specific templates there. There's also Post Nitro. You can write that down, which is AI-powered carousel generator. So you can just take
Nitro. What did you say?
Post Nitro, Nitro.
Okay.
Post Nitro. So it's either that or Canva for carousels. For videos, I use InVideo.io, which is a very popular video generation platform.
We were talking about Captions app has really leveled up in terms of AI.
Yeah. So, but InVideo creates faceless video content. For example, if you're doing, a market analysis video that you don't need to be in it and you just want to kind of create that for your YouTube shorts or Reels, then InVideo is really good because you just feed it the scripts you get, for example, from Vocable.ai, and then it just turns that into a full video with, all the stock photos, and you can add your own photos to it as well. And then for I use AI avatars now for most of my talking heads because I cringe at like yapping in front of a camera. But HeyGen and Captions app have been so good at creating really good AI avatars, very realistic, unless you zoom in into the mouth, but I think nobody does that. So you want to film yourself a little bit far from a camera and use a professional camera. It's only 2 minutes, and it really creates a good AI avatar that you can feed it scripts, and it lip syncs everything you need, and now you have your educational talking heads ready to go. Captions app is really good with editing as well. So I'm not an editor, but thanks to Captions app, I was able to definitely elevate my skills there. And so for publishing and scheduling, I use Planable. So that's a really good tool as well, where it pulls all of your channels together, and then you can just upload all of your supporting assets and posts into Planable, schedule it across all of your channels, and now you're able to just move on.
This was maybe like an old problem, but maybe it's changed now. I years ago would try some of these tools for scheduling, third-party tools, and it reduced my reach. So have you noticed any problem with Planable and posting, say, to Instagram?
I have not, but also for me, I haven't done a lot of posting in the past consistently to really have anything as a benchmark to compare to. And I know yes, I think a lot of insights have come out around how these the platforms like Meta and LinkedIn are kind of penalizing the ability to schedule. And I will say we're struggling with that as well, because we are trying to add that into Vocable through APIs to be able to have people schedule and plan and publish everything through Vocable. And they make it a lot harder now as a process, because they're trying to get people to, of course, use their own scheduling features.
Because they have scheduling within the app now, but it's a pain because you have to go into it.
But you're not bulk and batch scheduling. That's the issue. But I don't think if you're posting daily and if you're intentional about the content, I don't think it should make a huge difference. I would much rather take that cut and then have a lot more content planned and scheduled than have to rely on myself to manually do this, because that's probably where I fall off. I just don't really, I'm not good at sticking to manually uploading stuff on a daily basis, because you get caught up with your day-to-day business and work. So definitely having to plan ahead and batch upload and schedule is probably the best way to guarantee consistency for your content creation.
Yeah, and so if you guys don't know, on the back end of Instagram is Facebook, obviously, Meta, and they have something called, it used to be called Creator Studio. So if you just Google Facebook Creator Studio, it'll come up. It's now within the business suite behind your Instagram. And if you have a creator account on Instagram, you have this on the back end, because that is a type of business account, and you can schedule through that app on a desktop now. It just came out, like they upgraded it in the last 6 to 12 months, depending on your account. And so you can use that to schedule. That's native to the app. We could also try Planable, and obviously we'll report back within our communities here, like if anybody's noticing a difference in reach. But yeah, I would rather be consistent than not get the posts up. But I just think, getting more up to speed on using this and integrating into your daily life, like Cody talked about this earlier, so it's perfect timing. She's like, hey, if you just start using this more often to create, like, you'll be so far ahead, because most people, like, we're like at the forefront right now. Like,
and you're able to do a lot
if
more.
you like, we said, how many people in here raise your hand if you're using this? A lot of hands went up. If you did that in the casino, it's a different level of hands. It's like 1 or 2, And a lot of people are using ChatGPT at a super, super basic level. But if we start doing just a few things, it's a game of inches, like a few things more, you have such a leap ahead of the competition.
But I also would encourage people to think about using AI and just AI in general as more than just using ChatGPT, because I feel like there's a whole other world out there. And a good directory that I always recommend for people to play around once they're ready to really start looking at, okay, what is my bottleneck right now in my processes and how can I use AI to fix that, is there's an AI for that. It's a really good directory that you can just put in your task that you're trying to, turn this voice into, clean up noise in my voice recordings. And it will pull up all the great AI tools that actually specialize in that specific task. And I think it's always good to play around with purpose-built specific AI tools than just stick into the ChatGPT, because, again, it's very versatile, and you don't always get the greatest output for very specific tasks that you're using.
Yes, love that. Iman, thank you so much for being here. Guys, give it up for Iman, making the trip.